It's almost the end of the year, and today I'm talking to you about how I am looking back at your year to inspire you to do the same as well. And yeah, I'm going to really share a lot of details. So if you're curious, and I know you do, because my behind the scenes episodes are always very popular, then have a listen. This is Big Business with Sarah, the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to continue building their business and understand you should never stop learning. So, in the introduction, I mentioned to you that I want to inspire you and to share with you my 3-year process of getting more in my business. You know, what I wanted, how I see my vision in my business, and, you know, how it's going so far. And also, and that's what I want to inspire you to have this long-term vision. I'm talking about this in almost every episode in my podcast. Also, my clients know this. And why I believe it's so important, and why I did this actually. Why did I pivot my business? So you might know that since COVID, when I was a freelancer during COVID, I realized many clients disappeared, or at least they didn't disappear, but they decided not to hire me anymore. And then I thought, what, my business model is actually very, very unsolid. I was just counting on 7 clients per year. I didn't do any sales and marketing. I was just, getting clients because of word of mouth or because clients were coming back to me. And yeah, actually, I didn't want that anymore. And what I wanted was clients that I really clients that I really wanted to work with, because I was working for businesses, larger businesses than I'm currently. So now I'm working currently with mostly solopreneurs, like myself, actually, that want to do the same thing as I did 2 years ago. Or actually, I decided doing it 2 years ago, and I started doing it actually 1 year ago. And my clients' results are really, really great. I'm going to talk about that later. But what I want to share with you is how I have kind of stopped myself from being into panic mode all the time, because I was, since COVID, I was all the time a little bit panicked, like, oh, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? And that is thinking, in the long term, and also looking back with gratitude. So actually the past, I think 3 or 4 episodes have been really very much about this. And I want to inspire you and look at your business the same way as I do. I'm not saying that you have to do exactly the same as I'm doing. No. I'm just sharing with you the foundation. So I do not believe in getting rich quick. I believe in building a very strong foundation for your business, but also for your life. And, this is what my clients are learning from me, to have that strong foundation to build from. So for instance, my mastermind takes 3 months, and I think that's just enough to build that strong foundation and build from there. And people can, come back in the mastermind if they want to, create more, but that's, I think, the most important thing. And the client's results so far is that, I've had someone launching their new business. I've had someone made way more money than they ever expected. I have somebody who's worked tremendously on their mindset to create a business more on their terms, being a mother, focus on what's important for you, and not just thinking of what's important for the people around me. And also thinking that maybe the money doesn't really matter if you spend it all. So really being very smart in your business. That's what my clients learn. There's many people in arts and culture that I'm helping who have a mindset of there is no money, and I'm helping them create that. And actually that is working really, really well. And the year is closing right now, so I'm asking my clients to review it. And I don't want this to sound too clickbaity, but the results are staggering. They're doing such a great job. And actually today I was driving back from a city in the Netherlands to to home with my husband, and I was talking about how is it possible that once you set your mind to it, you can really actually reach so much. So for everyone who's worked with me, they've spent money, obviously, because I'm not working for free. So they spend money on me, but actually they've all earned it back. And what is that? That motivation and what and I'm doing. I'm having the same thing. I've spent 25,000 euros on coaching for the past 2 years, and it's going to be more next year. And I've always earned it back. I'm very, very happy about that. But it's also because I have to. I wanted it to work because I spent all that money, and I really made it my job to really earn that money back and not let it be all for nothing. So what is it that once you set your mind to it, that you actually reach that goal? And it's, of course, coaching is all about accountabilities, having the right strategy and everything. But that mindset of wanting to make most out of the time that you're spending in, for instance, a coaching container, but also just in your business. And once you decide, yes, I'm going for it, that's so interesting to me. Not just to myself, but mostly because of my clients, I'm seeing them do it, and it's so nice. It's so interesting to see their results and to see also that they really decide that they are going to make it and to really do it. So I'm going to look back. I'm going to be very personal right now on my year. And I divided it into personal, business, and spiritual. Who would have thought that I would ever talk about spiritual things? But I wanted to do it because it's actually a big part right now. And I'm always thinking, oh, this is not for me. I'm not that kind of woman. And actually, if you're thinking that, maybe this is also something for you, because I was quite surprised what it's done to me. But I'm first starting with my personal looking back. So let me start by saying that my relationship with my husband, we're together for 12 years now, is better than ever. It's incredible. And especially because, I started in January with my new business, and he supported me tremendously. Always when I was feeling down, he was saying, oh yeah, you can get back up. Let's do it. You're going to be fine. And such a trust and believe in me when I was thinking, oh, I'm a big imposter. I'm making people, I'm taking away people's money, and I'm not giving anything back. That's not true, but sometimes you have those thoughts. And he would always say, no, don't worry about that. So very, very deep connection right there with my relationship. So I'm very happy with that. And I feel very, very blessed about that also, because I know it's not something that can just always happen. So yeah. Also, my friendships has really changed, and I've also have had and created a much deeper connection with some of my friends. So I was talking about this with someone last night. I was talking to someone last night that I met who is living in the same village or small city that I grew up in. And he asked me, don't you miss your friends? Because he said he stayed there because of his friends. And I said, yes, I did have a lot of friendship, but I actually had a lot of friendships, but those were not very deep connections. And it's funny that I'm talking about it right now, because I wrote this down, I think 2 weeks ago for the preparation. But actually, that's it. I've deepened the connection with my friends more. So, then you only have limited space. So I really cherish all of my friends, but there is a few that I'm really spending a lot of time with. And if you're listening, you know who you are. But that was very important for me this year. And then what was so interesting, this actually happened in 2022. I went to a dietitian. It was in October 2021. I went to a dietitian because I wanted to lose weight. This is another personal fact. And I wanted to lose weight because I've had so much pain in my right leg, actually since the beginning of COVID, but there was nothing, that could be found. And, I had a physical therapist who would help me to, have less pain, but it was still there. And I thought, and because of that, I gained a lot of weight. Because of COVID, I lost all my clients. And I had pain in that leg, and I couldn't go to the gym anymore because it hurt so much. And then also all the gym closed. So it was like a vicious cycle that I also didn't want to get out of mentally, because I was feeling depressed. And it took a while before I realized that. And so I went to my dietitian, and we talked for, I think, 6 or 8 sessions. I don't really remember. And I don't like to count calories and all those things. I've been a fitness trainer a long time ago. So I learned all those things. I know how it works. I know exactly. And I know that things are changing, right? So beliefs about, what's good food and what isn't is, but I believe, except for the alcohol, I eat quite healthy, maybe a little bit too large portions. That's true. But, those things I didn't want to talk about. So we were talking more about my mindset about food. And then actually we realized, in the conversations, both my dietitian and me, we thought, okay, this is a much deeper problem, because, why is it that I always want to eat? Is because I'm afraid that I'll be hungry. And this is something from my past, from my youth. And so I had to work on this. And now it's getting actually very, very personal, but I want to share this with you because it's something that people don't really talk about. And I realized that there were some issues from my youth that I had to solve with a psychologist. And I'm not getting too deep into, what the diagnosis was, but yeah, it wasn't really, there was a lot to be done. And so I started this. I wanted to start beginning of this year, but it only started in May of this year because of wait lists and the mental health care in the Netherlands. And, that actually opened so many doors for me. That therapy has really helped. One of the things that I really notice is that, you can really keep something in your whole life. You can always kind of accept something without ever really processing it or talking about it. Yes, you can, but it has helped me so much to actually talk about it and to realize, also to realize in my case that, some things were a bit extreme, and, that I could actually, could really process it and talk about it and think about it one more time, and not to delve too much in. I am delving in the past, but I don't want to stay there. So kind of talking about that in the past, and then accepting and closing the door. And that's what we're doing right now. I'm still right in the middle of therapy. I didn't really want to talk about this actually, but I think, I'm sharing just enough. But I want to share this with you because it was so funny, because I had, this leg, and then I went to a physical therapist, and then I gained weight, and then I thought, I have more pain in my leg because I'm heavier. And, because of COVID and those clients. And, when you're a solopreneur, when you're a freelancer, you're really depending on your health, mental health and physical health. And I believe that it's important for business to get your shit together, Portia. This is what Tanya says in White Lotus. But actually, this is true. Get your together. Yeah. And another thing that I wanted to talk about, very personal, is that this year I was so inspired by art and travel. So at the beginning of this year, me and my husband, we went both to Milan and Paris, not for Fashion Week, but just for us week. And we were there, and and we didn't really travel that much during COVID, obviously, and for 2 years actually. And we went to France in 21, but then that's it. Much more people were taking trips than us, and I was so much nourishing all that beautiful art. We went to museums and everything, and architecture, and just the structures of the city. I love walking through cities, so I was so inspired by that, and I was reminded, there's so many beautiful things, and it's actually inspiring me to be the best version of myself, and not just looking at Instagram pictures and sharing that in my stories, but also really going there and watching it. All right, so that's it for the personal part. Now we're going to my business. So this is going to be much easier. I changed my business from January on. My pilot was successful. I was doing a pilot during Black Friday of last year, and it was successful. People bought, and I was very, very happy. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this because I can actually help people. And actually, I could have done the pilot period for a longer period of time. And I remember in January, February, I still got so many offers from organizing events or doing freelance jobs. And in total, I think I turned down, in January, it was 45K worth in freelance work. And then I think it was the same amount again in February. So 90K, 90, so that would be a nice yearly salary, right? But I didn't want to give up my hours. And that was something that I decided during Black Friday, if this is going to be what I want it to be, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump. And so I launched in January. I didn't do any other jobs, except, by the way, I am hosting for a very, very lovely platform called Museum Next. I'm hosting their events, some of their events from home. So I'm an event host and, talking to all the speakers, doing the Q&A and everything. So that's what I still did, but that's a very, very confined, that's a very, I don't want to say easy job, but I really like doing it. It's giving me a lot of energy and inspiration. And it fits perfectly in my current business, actually. So I'm very happy about this. This is something that I've done for the past 4 years now, I believe. And that's just a client that I really want to keep working with, yes. So from March on, I started coaching for real. So January, February were really very much about launching my business, but also this podcast. The first podcast episode launched in February 24th. And I remember being in Paris and creating all these stories and really talking about the podcast. And, it was so nice, stories on Instagram, I mean. And then from March, I started on coaching, and it started with a few clients. And then in April, I had a huge dip. My mindset, I was everywhere. And this was short-term Sarah, STS. I don't want to meet her ever again. And so from May on, it went really well. So because I worked so well on my mindset, and the person who really helped me with this is Melissa Lynn. I have an interview with her in episode 27, and she has really helped me work on that mindset because, I just wanted to quit then and there and just go back to freelancing and, whatever. But it's so interesting to notice that everyone is kind of having, those dips, probably because I'm seeing it with my clients as well. And, it would be such a shame that, I couldn't do this right now if I wouldn't have, if I would have decided, what, I'm not going to do it anymore. So in total, I helped 60 clients this year. And I'm so happy with that because I wanted to help 100 clients this year. That was my goal. But actually, I'm very happy with 60. And, it's so much better than 7, right? With that little bit unsolid business model. So I launched a couple of so my main program is the Big Business video course. It consists of 6 modules. It's a very big course, couple of hours to follow. And I first created a Big Business private round, that was starting in March. And then I started to create a mastermind immediately from May on. And so I did 1 round, 2 round, and right now actually it's round 2. We're graduating tomorrow, and then round 3 will start in February 7th, and it's already 40% full. And it's pre-sold during the Black Friday, so I'm very happy about that. Also launched a little workshop called Big Business, Big Life. It's always right before the mastermind. You can actually subscribe through the link. I will put it in the description. And I also launched Your Summer Reset, and that was such a fun private podcast series. I killed Your Summer Reset, by the way. If you're listening to one of my previous episodes, you know that I'm announcing it. But I actually killed it because it was too much work. And sometimes you just have to do that. Actually, I was so much looking forward to doing that with, Christmas bells and everything. I think Your Summer Reset will come back next year. But I also, during creating that podcast series, I decided to create a book with the content of the private podcast. It's going to be very much also a lifestyle and business book. I'm not sure yet when it will launch, but it will come to me. And all the people that have subscribed to the Your Summer Reset or bought the Your Summer Reset last year or this year, actually, they will get the book for free. So in August, I started creating content on LinkedIn. So I've always been active on Instagram and mainly Instagram. That's how I got my biggest following, and I would always have an email list. But then I also started creating on LinkedIn, and that was actually going very well. Met some really cool people there, and also right now creating a Facebook group. Facebook community with people who want to learn and get free trainings. And then also in the summer, I started creating mini programs because I was always so very, very much, I was always thinking, and this is also a little bit what I learned, is that I should have 1 or 2 big programs and that's it. But actually, because of those mini programs, I can help more people. That's what I want. And actually see if they're a great fit for instance, my Big Business program or for my private coaching. For private coaching, I have had actually quite a lot of clients, and some of them are following my year private coaching. And I mean, of course, in 1 year, you're reaching so much more. Well, actually not so much more, but you're able to reach so much actually in that 1 year. I think that's incredible. And I'm actually so proud on what they've reached so far. And then also something else, business-wise, and then I'm going on to spiritual, is that this is episode 49. And the next episode is going to be completely different. And I can share with you why I decided to change it. I think it was about 10 episodes ago that I decided, you know what, I really want to change. Some of the reasons were that I wanted to create higher quality newsletter, because my newsletter is a weekly news broadcast. And it would always be about my podcast. And, it was a little bit more of, saying, what, this podcast is going to happen. But I want the newsletter to be really a source of information itself. And I was always creating a blog post about every podcast episode, but actually I don't want that anymore. I want people to actually listen to my podcast and then, using that blog post as a newsletter right now. So those will be 2 different things. And another thing, what I was thinking about was that I really like, sharing these tips and tricks. Right now, of course, I'm talking about myself, but, most of the time I would do that, very simple strategies that I'm sharing with you that you can apply in your business immediately. But I thought, what is it that people, really like about me is my coaching, because once they work with me, they tend to come back. So I thought, how can I bring that coaching a little bit closer to my ungated content? Because podcast is ungated. You don't have to leave your email address to listen to my podcast. You can just listen to it, and I don't know a thing about that. Unless you're saying that to me, or you're sharing the podcast in your stories or something. I mean, that would always help. You don't have to, don't worry. But if you really like to support me, you can. But so I decided, you know what, I really like that coaching, and or at least my clients like that. And how can I integrate that in my new format? Because I wanted to change that new format, because I decided on the newsletter that I wanted that to be higher quality. And so that's what's going to happen next week. So I'm going to share a completely new format for you. If you're looking at YouTube, I don't know if you can see it, but there is my Rode Procaster 2, and I'm going to work with it, and with all different sounds and everything. It probably, the first 2 or 3 episodes won't be as perfect. I have a new opening tune I'm very excited about. Very much looking forward. So that's it business-wise, really. So really, many clients, very successful clients, many, new things, programs, ideas. I really like the creation part. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to share with you, because I had a word for this year. I'm not sure if you remember. I'm not sure if I ever shared, but my word this year was comfort. And so I worked 6 hours a day, every day. Well, I mean, not every day, but 5 days a week, or sometimes 4. And sometimes it would be 8 hours, and sometimes it would be 4 hours. But I really wanted that to be my first priority, because in 2021 I worked my ass off to make money, to make the money that I could afford to actually not make as much in the first 2 quarters as I did in the last 2 quarters of this year. That's also something very important that I should share with you. When you pivot your business, it will be difficult to get new clients, first. It was not very easy for me, but because in April, that's when I realized, I was like, ooh, I was a little bit afraid. But then my then coach, Melissa, would say, no, don't worry, keep going. And so I did. If I would have known what big quarters it would be, these 2 last quarters of the year, then I wouldn't have to worry. But I didn't know for sure. But you know what? If you have a plan, if you have a mindset, you can really, really get it. So my word was comfort. And I'm sure that if it wasn't, if my year would be acceleration or growth or work incredibly hard to reach, anything I want, my results would have been much better. But I wanted to pivot from a position of comfort. And I did, and I'm actually so happy. And, I was almost actually, again, I was almost getting in a burnout in the summer of 21. I had to take 4 weeks off. And then the same in the winter 21. I had to take another 4 weeks off right before I pivoted. So that's why I wanted to have that comfort year, because I tend to work very hard. I'm not saying this to brag, by the way, but sometimes I really don't know when to stop. So very glad I did that, by the way. And that it actually, I think looking back, yes, comfort, I think I managed. All right, so now the spiritual part. I've shared the gratitude episode with you 3 episodes ago. It has been a major game changer. It's so nice to work from a position of gratitude instead of a position of hunting. You're so much more attracting things and people using that tool. Another thing that I really, really liked, and that I'm not taking too seriously, by the way, but that I really liked and that's really guiding me, is tarot. I really like it. You can use this, in any case, and Well, actually, sometimes it's very confronting and sometimes they're really right. I remember my tarot reading, my year reading of this year was really, I didn't like it because in the beginning, the cards were predicting that it was going to be hard at the beginning. And it was true. I think it's so incredible. You can interpret this the way you want, but I like to play with this. I like discovering this. And then another thing that I love to do is journaling. I love to write down my thoughts. I love to, this could be anything, things that I'm grateful for, plans that I have, reflections of the day, really anything, and just writing it down. Or maybe things that I really don't like, just write it down. Then it's out of your head. Another thing that I'm trying right now, also thanks to my psychologist, is breathing exercises. So in the morning, I start breathing. Actually, I didn't do it this morning, but I will do it now after this episode, recording this episode. 10 minutes of just breathing in the morning. Why not? And then there's been also a lot of books that really inspired me. So these were literature, but also nonfiction. And one of the books that has really inspired me were the ones from Deepak Chopra. It's called Abundance. I had to look. I had to look at my bookshelf. I wasn't really sure. It's a very nice book. And another book that I'm reading is Pussy. It's so nice. It's from Regina. Oh, I forgot. Well, if you're just looking at Regina and then Pussy, you will find it. But it's very much about the female power and how women haven't, stepped into their female power. And you know what? Whilst I don't believe everything that's written inside, I do believe that there should be a little bit more female energy in the world. And that book really helps me. And I'm actually also gifting it tomorrow. There is going to be a goodbye party at my house with my mastermind. I'm gifting it to them to inspire them. And so, so the concept, I was kind of talking a little bit to, very quickly about this Deepak Chopra abundance book, but it's very much about, also about gratitude. The concept I really like, of abundance. There's more than enough for everyone. Scarcity mindset is not helping anyone. And also things like, so for instance, I think it was in the Kardashians that Chloe, who is the anxiety queen, she talks about the truth doesn't exist, or the reality doesn't exist. And I actually agree with her. And so, one of the personalities from The White Lotus, season 2, Daphne, she's also talking a lot about this. And even though you might think that it's a little bit a strange way to look at things and maybe, too detached from reality, I think it's very healthy to be able to be detached from reality, because actually reality is all in your head. And it's all a story that we tell ourselves. You should listen to it, but you can always decide, your stance in that, and you can always change your path. So me leaving my interim management business, which was going really well. Actually, I was making a lot of money. People really liked working with me. I was good at my job. I was successful, but actually leaving that for something that isn't too accepted in the world. I created a podcast episode about the opinion on business coaches. You can listen to it, obviously. But yeah, I hope this inspires you, and to think about, what this could be for you. What is your personal looking back, and what is your business looking back, and maybe also your spiritual looking back, or maybe you want to look at it a different way. Maybe for you it's mindset. Could be really anything. I'm sharing a lot here, so please spare me. And to me, actually, what I, and maybe this inspires you too, is for me, this is also a little bit of a journal, this podcast. And, if I would listen back to this in 2026, I would probably think, OMG, what are you doing? because that's what I'm thinking of myself 1 year ago in the first episode, or the second or the third. But yeah, it's okay. Be nice to yourself. Love yourself. I think that's the most important one. And I know it's easy to say. It's very hard to actually do that. But yeah, may that be also a word for you next year. And I'm wondering what your word is going to be. I'm not sure yet what my word is going to be. I'm going to have to think about it. But I do want to have another theme. It's not going to be comfort anymore. I've had enough of comfort. Yeah, maybe it should be something like accelerating. You know what? I'm so very much inspired always by the Kardashians. And I'm currently watching the last episode, the final episode of this season, and they inspire me so much to work so hard and to get my fucking ass up and work. So yeah, maybe that will be my mantra. I'm not sure yet, but it might go that way. So from next week on, the podcast is going to be so different. No more of these episodes. Actually, the format doesn't allow for it. Maybe I can kind of scooch in some personal details sometimes, and maybe there will be a bonus no, not a bonus exercise, but a bonus episode about this. But let me know if you like this, because I know that many people listen to it, and maybe you cringe, maybe you don't, but I'm curious. So very much looking forward to hear from you. Yes, you will hear it for the next episode. There is really the opportunity to participate. So I'm sharing that with you. It's going to be very easy for you to participate. Right now, people are doing very much their best to participate, but it's going to be much easier. I'm being a little bit vague here, but it's going to be really awesome. Thank you so much for listening to the old format of Big Business with Sarah. The name stays the same, but it will be completely different. Thank you. Have a happy new year, and see you in the next. Bye-bye.